White House Deputy Press Secretary TJ Ducklo resigned from the White House on Saturday. That decision comes after reports from Vanity Fair that Ducklo threatened to, quote, destroy a Politico reporter for pursuing a story about his secret relationship with Axios reporter Alexi McCammond.
There's a lot going on here. Democratic strategist and owner of JC Strategies, Jennifer Holsworth-Karp, and Senior Director of Policy at the Conservative Partnership Institute, Rachel Bookfart, join us now to discuss. Jen, let me start with you. I mean, I covered this story in the original. I actually got some pushback. People were like, what are you covering this for? You know, it's normal. I'm like, I actually reject that it was normal. And then it comes out that he threatens this reporter, Tara Palmieri, who we've had on the show, fantastic reporter, and tells her that he will destroy her, tries to levels a very sexist charge that she's only doing this because she's jealous, reporting this, and now ultimately has resigned. Just what's your general take here about this whole situation?
What a disaster.
Yeah.
Just what an absolute disaster. I mean, full disclosure, I happen to know and love Tara. I think she's fantastic. I don't know TJ very well, but what he said was abhorrent. It was disgusting. You know, as a woman in politics, I've heard similar things and similar accusations and similar language. The whole thing was just terrible. I mean, look, I understand that when somebody goes after your personal life, it can be very trying, right? But if you're in the public eye, and especially with the Biden administration promising a certain amount of transparency and accountability and ethics, it was something that had to be covered. Now, let's also note that according to her editor, she was assigned the story. It was not something that she just got her teeth into and decided to pursue on her own. Maybe that would have been a little annoying. But still, it did not merit the reaction whatsoever.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah, I mean, Rachel, the context here, this is from Vanity Fair's reporting. They say Ducklo accused Palmieri of only reporting on his relationship, which, due to the ethics questions that factor in the relationship between a journalist and a White House official, fall under the purview of her reporting beat. Ducklo accused her of only reporting on it because she was jealous that an unidentified man in the past had wanted to F McCammond and not you. This is as despicable behavior as I have honestly ever heard. And look, I know there's a rough and tumble of the press and the comm shop and all of that, but this is outrageously beyond what I have really heard of before.
Yeah, it's really disgusting. Although, you know, DC is full of these kind of like subpar talent megalomaniacs who think they're all living in House of Cards. And this is what you get when people create that, you know, dystopia for themselves. But look, I think it's good that he resigned. But the rumor is that the White House knew about this behavior for weeks before Vanity Fair actually reported on it. And it was only after it became public that they took any action. And remember, the first action they took was just to put him on unpaid leave for a week. Joe Biden laid it out there on the campaign trail. He said, if anyone in my White House treats a colleague with disrespect, they'll be gone immediately. No ifs, ands, or buts. So, look, I think it's good that he's not there anymore, but sad it took so long.
So, Jen, let's talk about that, because I think it's a fair point, which is that according to Vanity Fair's own story, all of this went down actually on Inauguration Day, which is amazing. Thinking about the White House press secretary having to deal with her deputy going off on a reporter on their very first day in office, January 21st, they had to have a meeting about this. They knew about this behavior, handled it privately, and some people are whitewashing exactly what happened here. The initial response to all of this, whenever he was placed on 1 week of leave and all of that, is they actually went after Politico for saying that they violated an off-the-record agreement, that this would have all just been handled internally. So the come to Jesus moment exactly on the firing took quite a while, basically until the PR had fallen, the bottom had fallen out in the public eye. Should they have handled this differently from the beginning?
Well, two things. Number one, off the record conversations with reporter. Now, I've never been on the reporting side. I've always been on the source side. It stops at the water's edge as soon as harassment starts.
Correct.
So
Yes.
Let's just lay that out right there. There is no off the record when you start to behave the way TJ did. On the other hand, let's look at this through the lens of what TJ Ducklo is currently experiencing. He has stage 4 cancer. I think that there were a lot of conversations around what was going to happen to him. As much as Joe Biden would like to fire people on the spot, I don't know this firsthand, but I would imagine if and when Joe Biden heard this, which I'm sure he has now, he went through the roof. I am sure he was livid. He has never spoken like that to anybody in his life, and I don't think he would approve of it. I don't think it was handled as swiftly as it could have been, but I think that there was a lot more going into the decision than just that this was bad behavior and should not be tolerated. I think they had to take his health into concern about how they were going to make sure that he wasn't going to be out on his ear, which, by the way, leads to a fantastic conversation about healthcare coverage in this country. Okay,
Yeah.
so let's not
fair.
protect harassers
Listen,
just because we
fair
don't
point.
have universal healthcare coverage. That
Yeah.
is the prism that this story unfolds in.
Very, very important point. And Rachel, what do you make of, I mean, the original scandal here was the fact that Ducklo and McCammon were having this relationship. It was apparently open secret in D.C. while she is covering the White House. And when Axios basically, discovered, they already probably knew, but when it came out that they were going to be in the public eye, they moved her to the Kamala Harris beat, which is
very
still
distinct.
covering the administration. But what do you think the guidelines and the ethics are around people having relationships with those who are serving in administrations or affiliated with politicians that they're covering?
Well, look, this town is a thicket of those kind of conflicts, right? It's a very small town, and people, you find this in every administration. But I think that's why it has to be immediately reported, transparent, and I think there can be, no ties, right? Someone should not be reporting on the White House at all if they're dating someone kind of in a position of power and influence there. So I think she should be moved even further from the VP beat, personally. But look, this is something we all deal with in different aspects of our career. So I think, again, transparency, immediate reporting, accountability, and maybe not going to People magazine for a glowing profile would be step one.
Yeah, step one indeed. Okay, guys,
Thank you,
thanks for
ladies.
joining us. All right, next on Rising, friend of the show, Ryan Grimmy joins us now to discuss Trump's second acquittal and the role that he played in the January 6th insurrection.